Morning, everyone. Today is the 11th of September. It's Monday. It's another weekly market analysis we are doing. So paying attention to what happened last week and what you are expecting for this week. My name is Pedro. I'm the senior market analyst at Alphachain, and that's usually what we do on Monday mornings. So last week, if you pay attention to the news and what happened, it was a quiet week. We did have some interest rate decisions in Australia and Canada. And at this point, what you can expect is actually for the rates to stay unchanged, right? It looks like that the central bankers have peaked on their interest rate rises. So at this point, for example, Reserve Bank of Australia remained at 4.1%. Bank of Canada remained at 5%. And what we notice is that it was almost as a non-event, like the market is almost not reacting to this news anymore. Price a shift towards maybe now how exactly is the economy reacting for all these hikes that we had for the last 12 months. And that's maybe a little bit more of the concern that we have more than actually what central bankers are about to do. I think that's completely priced in, where maybe the next conversation or the next questions is when maybe are we going to start noticing some rate cuts, and then when that's going to happen, that's maybe a better question than maybe what the market is looking forward to. So as you can see, a lot of news that with low impact, that means this yellow news in here last week. The only thing that really we had in particular in the US, it was the services PMI with slightly better result than it was expected at 54.5. That surprised a little bit the market, and we noticed it. It was another bullish week for the dollar in this case. This is quite a bit bearish, but still with a little bit of recovery on Friday, and that's a little bit of what we had last week. Looking at the services PMI across Euro, quite negative. So even the services PMI at this point are below 50, shows contraction. So not just the manufacturing, but also the services, which raises the concern in the Eurozone, which we are going to talk a little bit about it in a bit, because we're going to have ECB this Thursday, ECB interest rate decision. In the UK, below 50 as well, but slightly better than expected. So that's a little bit of what we have in the UK, a bit mixed data coming out. So yes, that's a little bit of what we had. Even unemployment claims in the US as well, being the lowest data since February, if not mistaken, or since March, something like that. So below at around 216K. So even the labor market continues to show some tightening and strength in there. All right, moving along, and for this week and what we have and what you are going to be looking for, right? So the main catalyst is going to be the CPI. Okay, so CPI, that's the number one data point that you are going to be looking for on this week, which is going to be on Wednesday. That's regards to the US data, which is expecting to be slightly higher, to continue to increase. Now it has been decreasing since July last year, and the last data point in August, it was the first time that we actually had a slightly higher number than the previous month, and the pattern is to continue now to increase a little bit. Main reason, energy costs, gasoline, and that's one of the main reasons to see now this number of CPI increasing. As we can see, oil is starting to trade really close to $90, which can start to be a concern in this particular case, to see if the inflation, in particular CPI, of course, is going to start to reflect those higher energy costs in here. And let's see how exactly also the central bankers are going to react to it. Last week, we had the announcement that Russia and Saudi Arabia are going to continue with the production cuts. So until basically the end of the year, if not mistaken. So that's going to create more pressure on oil, and maybe to continue to see the prices of oil to increase, at least in the medium term. So we'll see how exactly that's going to play out in terms of the inflation. At this point, I believe the market is a little bit more concerned with the core CPI than just the normal CPI, which is expected to continue to decrease, to go from 4.7% last month to 4.3%. We can see that shelter inflation, for example, is something that is starting to decrease, and that helps as well to this core CPI to decrease as well. And at this point, yes, that's the main concern for the Fed, and in particular for the rest of central bankers as well, when looking at the CPI in their countries. But yes, don't forget, this energy, high energy costs can start to be, if they're going by any chance starting to be at close to any levels that they were 2 years ago, or where we are by the end of 2021, for example, that can be a concern, which may take us into this cycle, and maybe the interest rates, they may stay higher for longer than actually the market is pricing in at this point. So that's what you have in the US. We are going to have also retail sales, PPI, and again, unemployment claims as always every Thursday, and then the consumer confidence on Friday. So let's see exactly how those numbers are going to play out. And then, of course, ECB interest rate decision on Thursday. It's an interesting one. There's been a while since we have the ECB press conference in the last few months or meetings. The ECB has been always the day after the FOMC. So basically you had the FOMC on Wednesday, and the day after we would have the ECB, and it looked like this reaction from the market. It was almost kind of as it looked like the market was reacting as a double news, and kind of just as an individual event, where maybe we wouldn't see as much reaction on the dollar or the euro as we could have seen just from the FOMC, because then we are already looking ahead for the ECB, and we should make kind of the events together. In this case, we have finally an isolated ECB news, and let's see exactly how the euro is going to perform. We have seen the euro kind of moving to the downside for the last 1 month or so, and let's see if we are going to see any kind of reaction or change in this cycle, maybe looking at the euro to move to the upside, or by any chance just resuming the move and to the downside and continue this bearish momentum that started middle of July, if not mistaken. At this point, the expectation is to be the same at 4.25. However, there was maybe some commentary that maybe the market is pricing in too much the unchanged rates, with maybe potential still another hike. If not now, maybe the next meeting. We'll see. Christine Lagarde also on DCB usually tends to follow a little bit what the Fed does. So if by any chance the Fed is going to literally stop with any hikes, maybe DCB is going to be more comfortable doing exactly the same. So we'll see. Thursday, expect some volatility again, and let's see if there's going to be any surprise in here. As you could see, in terms of the services PMI, manufacturing, and so on, we are seeing weakness in the Eurozone, and that can be a concern, of course, in order to try to consider any other hikes or not. So let's see if there's going to be any kind of volatility on that day. And yeah, that's basically the most important news that you're going to have. Just on last point, for example, and more individually, we have Apple announcing the new iPhone or the new services, and then in their next conference, which is going to be this week. Usually, I think it's on Thursday, so maybe that's going to be the day of the conference. And in that regards, there's the conflict with China, which has created some restrictions in regards to the iPhone. So let's see if that's going to create any how the impact and how bad the impact is going to be for the iPhone's projections of sales, and how exactly Apple and the market is going to react to those news, to the restrictions that China has been implementing on Apple products. So yeah, that's something to be aware of in terms of more data in there. So looking at the dollar and looking at the market and what exactly we have, right? So if this is not historical, it's quite unique. We are having 8 weeks in a row with a bullish candle, and that's not normal. And that's kind of what we can see in here on the dollar, right? So basically, since the middle of July, we printed 8 consecutive bullish candles, weekly bullish candles on the dollar. And question mark is, are we going to have a little bit of a correction from where we are right now? Right, the market opened this Monday with a gap to the downside. Price still respected Thursday's high or Friday's high in there, and we may be correcting a little bit, maybe for resuming to move upwards. Yes, it hasn't really been a move with much momentum, right? Especially last week, there wasn't really any big catalyst to create that momentum in the market. It was kind of just another move higher. It's losing momentum. Now, bigger picture, yes, we are looking for price to react exactly to take these highs. It took those highs as well, but react into those highs, and it's a really good level where actually these highs are reacting from. But bigger picture, we may even could see price eventually taking this level, getting maybe closer to that level before a major turn on the dollar. Nevertheless, we may have a little bit of a correction. Maybe it's due for something like that to happen, and maybe price could start aiming a little bit more closer to here before maybe resuming. So open to both possibilities. We did manage to slightly break an important level already this morning. So let's see exactly what may happen in here. Comparing with last week, yes, I'm a little bit more confident maybe on this level to look for a retracement than last week. Last week we were actually aiming for price to actually break those highs, and that happened. So let's see if the dollar is ready to retrace a little bit and finally print a negative weekly candle in here. Again, CPI, where we're going to be on Wednesday, it's going to be quite interesting how we are going to position then ourselves to the CPI, and then of course ECB also may create some kind of an impact in here on the dollar because of the strong correlation with the euro. Looking at the indices, S&P, Nasdaq, and then Dow. Like, so last week we had that correction to the downside. It was maybe some good opportunities to look for those sales, and this is kind of a natural level for price to react from and maybe resume to move upwards. Right, so question mark is this kind of a high for price kind of to resume to move down, or is this kind of just a retracement and then price can carry on and trying to get a little bit closer to this highs? There's a little bit of a small gap in there. I'm still aiming a little bit more towards there, kind of price respected, okay, that level. But I wouldn't mind to, or kind of, I wouldn't be surprised if the S&P or kind of the indices will just resume their move to the upside now, at least for this big first few days of the week. Again, let's see where we're going to be at by Wednesday around the CPI data. But this is a nice target for this move downside, and maybe this can be just resuming the move upwards. Yeah, there may be still something in here, so we'll see eventually how price is going to react from there. Nasdaq a little bit similar in here. So let's see if this is kind of, again, just as a continuation, basically what price may do in here, yes or not. Yeah, it looks like that maybe price could have still left a little bit behind a little bit of this level. Kind of this is where actually Nasdaq, S&P reacted from, but in reality, if you zoom in, you can see exactly the level that price reacted from, which is kind of reaction from this level already. So that's just a small nuance on the price section in here. Yeah, is price going to react a little bit more from here? Yeah, maybe there's a little bit something in there that price could react from, or in here. Let's see a bigger picture. Maybe you can carry on, maybe create a new high before maybe moving again to the downside. Again, we're basically kind of trading within this range. And then you can maybe kind of separate it a little bit more on different levels in here. So yeah, just find your ranges, which ones you are trying to trade from, and go with it. Bigger picture. We did manage to respect this upper trend line. Is price ready to complete return? We'll see. We're kind of going to need to see some kind of price action around this level if these highs actually want to hold in there, and then go down. Dow, a little bit more of the same, kind of maybe even a little bit more deeper retracement. Interesting level, reacted from all these left shoulders in here, and there you go, moving a little bit higher as well. Again, this is kind of a little bit of what you can look for. Then kind of maybe define a little bit another one in here. So is there something in here as well that price can react from? Perhaps. Is there anything higher that price can eventually go to? Yep, maybe as well. So we'll see. Last week it was an interesting one. Price kind of broke that level, therefore kind of open space to go down. It reached the target. So since it reached the target, now we need to wait and see what's going to happen next. Euro index, this is one to pay attention to. Of course, with the ECB press conference on Thursday, we were bearish and we continue to kind of be bearish after that break to the downside. Price respected this level, and kind of that's what the Euro index has been doing. Now it's approaching this level in here, so a little bit cautious. Let's see how price actually is going to be reacting from this level. Bigger picture, I think Euro index could still maybe go a little bit lower before maybe going higher. But yeah, this level, let's not ignore it. So it can be an interesting level, can work a little bit as a support in there to push price a little bit higher. Again, this particular case, where we are going to be next Thursday is going to be interesting in order to make the prediction in here. Are you going to continue to move to the downside? Are you going to maybe take this low, kind of retest a little bit, and then kind of navigate more to the downside, maybe take this structure in there? That could be an interesting one. So let's see how price is going to react around these lows in here. And then the end, right? The end is under a lot of pressure. Price is ranging quite a lot around these lows in here. It looks like it's trying to attempt to make some moves to the upside, but gets kind of rejected straight away. So maybe this is some potential investors, institutions trying to start getting a little bit more bullish on the end. Again, a lot of pressure from this Bank of Japan. If the yen continues to move down, expect maybe some spikes up. This week already opened, or today it opened with this gap to the upside, slightly breaking the side. That's interesting. But overall, kind of this is still the range that you are looking for. Nevertheless, you start breaking some highs on the way down, so that's something that we pay attention to. Question mark is price going to respect these lows before maybe making to move to the upside, or by any chance take these lows first and then go higher? Right. Keep an eye also, of course, on the dollar yen to see where maybe that could be, where the top may be created, and then maybe eventually move to the downside. But yeah, some pressure in here. Again, expect volatility on the yen pairs, which can be quite interesting for this week in here. So looking now at the individual currency pairs, I can look at the euro, again, a little bit similar to the dollar, continues to move to the downside. So this was something that you're looking for price to kind of still break these lows and get a little bit closer in here, with the potential to even go eventually bigger picture below these lows, just same way that maybe dollar index could break those highs that you talked about, and maybe price could even aim a little bit more closer there. Again, ECB on Thursday. Let's see exactly what's going to happen. Price is kind of managing to it's within this range. Price maybe could even spike above it and then continue down. We'll see. It was another gap up in here, the way price opened. Yeah, it starts to show some weakness on this move to downside. Again, euro, similar to the dollar, has been quite bearish. All right, printing exactly the same number of bearish candles as the dollar index printed bull. Yeah, so we may be time to a little bit of a retracement to the upside before maybe making or continue to move to the downside. Personally, not the biggest fan of what's going on in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if by any chance we do have new lows. However, so far price is reacting nicely from that level. In here, we do have kind of these strong levels of structure in there. in here. We'll see if we are, again, I want to see more information, and we are going to have that information during this first days of the week. Pound looking to recover a little bit as well, so we've been kind of moving down. This is an interesting level on the daily time frame, kind of where price is reacting from. On the left side, just took this low, so yeah, maybe we are due also to a retracement, and that's kind of what we have, right? We start noticing that on Thursday. Again, some highs being broken on the way up, starting to opening doors for price to go higher. Interesting. The way price kind of respected that level at the closing on Friday, and now kind of moving upwards, and we start aiming a little bit higher, to be honest. I do prefer a little bit more what I can see on the pound and on the euro, for example. But yeah, I think the pound can make a little bit more a move to the upside before maybe resuming, and I'm okay with this so far, at least at this point. So let's see exactly what may happen. I forgot to mention, but we do have quite a few data points coming out. In the UK, we're going to have unemployment tomorrow and GDP on Wednesday. Okay, so expect again some volatility on the pound. That's the news that you're going to expect to have in the UK for this week. Yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen in there. Aussie's been recovering a little bit. Been quite bearish, kind of retesting or finding some kind of level of support around this level. So let's see. Bigger picture could even go a little bit lower before maybe making that move upwards. So let's see. We do have this range in here. If price kind of breaks above that level, yeah, maybe turns a little bit more bullish. If kind of still manage to respect a little bit this structure, we may aim a little bit lower. So we'll see exactly what may happen on the Aussie dollar in here. Yeah, so let's pay attention to that one. And then let's jump into the yen pairs, right? And there you go, the gap that we already have this week. So what we have on the dollar yen, again, it's reacting from a good level. We talked about that during last week. It's an okay level. Is this the final destination? Is this the final high before maybe price completely turn? Maybe not. Maybe we're going to go still aiming a little bit higher. There's maybe something even in here around 148.569, maybe something there, or then eventually you can even go higher. Nevertheless, what you start noticing, and as we mentioned last week, is that we start noticing some weakness. For example, you start noticing some lows being broken on the way up. You start creating a little bit of liquidity in here. So you even managed to slightly take this level now on what time frame. Maybe there's something in there to actually manage even to take this structure in here. Yeah, so starting to see some weakness on the dollar yen, which can eventually maybe getting closer to that bigger turn that may happen in here. So that's something to keep an eye on. We may have this gap now to close today. We may even go slightly higher and take maybe these highs before maybe making another move to the downside in here. So again, maybe keep an eye on what the dollar is going to do. That may help a little bit also with the dollar yen. Yeah, but it will be definitely a pair to follow this week. Then we have the other yen pairs, looking at euro yen and pound yen. They have been a little bit more bearish than the dollar yen, for example. That's due to the move to downside on the pound and the euro. Interesting enough, this was something actually that we were looking for actually the euro yen to first break this low before even maybe retesting the highs. Now this makes it a little bit more bearish, at least for me. We have this level of structure that we can maybe fake out, and maybe price can actually get closer to this level. So that's definitely a level to keep an eye on. If price does want to make that deep retracement, maybe the break of these lows can actually mean this. Therefore, there's maybe a high probability zone of to look for a sell on the retest of this size. Yeah, that's kind of what this one means to me. Kind of open the door for that. Nevertheless, maybe this actually can be a potential move like this in here. It looks like a little bit contrarian, but it's actually something that price does quite often. So we do have this structure, and price can go there, and we can look for a sell, which maybe is going to be in alignment with the dollar yen reacting from something that eventually can be finally the move on the yen to the upside. Pound yen, similar. We already had initially broken these lows, kind of now confirmation again. Price maybe reacting from something in here. Yes, there's maybe still something at the highs that eventually price could go to as well. It's about to react from here, or maybe close the gap in there. So let's see if price is already ready to literally move down, or we are going to have another final retracement towards these highs before maybe making this big move. What we have for sure is that we start noticing some weakness in here. We start having lows being broken, and that can literally start leading maybe eventually for the big move. It's all about having patience to then find the right moment for the big trade, of course, depending on how you trade. Looking at the card, and we had exactly that. We had the interest rate decision, which basically it was flat, and we had the unemployment, which was a little bit better than expected on Friday with this bearish candle. So what we have in here, bigger picture, we've managed to break this level of structure. We start noticing again some weakness in here, and we finally turn in there. It was kind of a little bit of a level that you're looking for. This is the final move, and price is ready to do this. Question mark. I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. First and foremost, we do have this structure in here. First of all, this lows, and then that structure that can still hold price, and maybe price eventually could carry on this bullish momentum, maybe getting a little bit more closer to that level before that major turn to the downside. So maybe this is just a little bit of a retracement before aiming a little bit more higher, and then maybe you can make a bigger move in here. But yes, last week we start noticing those lows being broken, noticing some weakness in here, and eventually price follow through with that with the data that we are receiving from price in here. So yeah, it was a pair to look for as well. So curious to see how price is going to react from these two levels, in particular this one. If there's going to be some kind of continuation from here, or if price breaks it, you may start opening doors to go even lower. Dollar franc Swiss, it's another one that has been quite bullish, just following what the dollar is doing. But now it's approaching an interesting level. It's approaching this one in here that basically kind of initiated this strong move to the downside. So let's see, we start ranging a little bit in here as well. That can maybe be a little bit of a reversal behavior. Let's see. Breaking this structure to downside will definitely maybe open a little bit more room to the downside. Maybe as long as this one holds, maybe there's a risk of continue to go higher, which if you kind of take this level, then eventually you may just go all the way above this highs and maybe start looking for something in there. Maybe having here, maybe having there. Aside from that, maybe price can literally take these highs all together. So let's see what kind of opportunities you're going to have within this level on dollar franc Swiss, which may start, if the dollar is about to turn, maybe we can have some kind of good sell opportunity in there. Again, it has been quite bullish for 2 months now. Gold correcting a little bit as well. So it reached kind of one of the targets that you're looking for from this move to downside from last week. Right, it reached this level. We did manage to break that zone in there, so it's a little bit in the middle or indecisive of what to do. There's maybe more room to the upside if price by any chance wants to get closer to that level. The same way that can still be more room to downside in here before maybe making that. So let's see. Price reached this target. That's kind of a little bit of a target that you're looking for. This move to downside, especially after taking that low. And from now, maybe price could actually resume, start breaking new highs in here. Maybe in here can still be another potential long opportunity from this level. If price by any chance breaks below this, then maybe you can start aiming a little bit lower on gold. Bigger picture, maybe this can just be a continuation with price maybe aiming towards there. Yeah, not 100% confirmation at this point, more playing zone by zone on the war time frame in here. Oil, that's another one, right? Looking at oil, which retested quite a few times at 88 mark, right? It continues this bullish momentum, but starts to show a little bit of weakness, or kind of slowing down a little bit, finding some kind of resistance at around this level. This is a zone that kind of still matters, just kind of as we talked just before we went live. Yeah, this could be even a good long opportunity depending on actually what price is going to do. Bigger picture, I wouldn't be surprised if maintenance price even continues slightly to go higher, and maybe get a little bit higher, this $90 mark, maybe towards there, and maybe could have a little bit of a correction. If not, price can even go even higher and maybe take this double top in here into here, into that 95 mark. And that could be maybe even as a bigger picture, maybe the final destination from all this, before maybe price starting to have a bigger turn. Lower time frame, yeah, lower time frame, you may navigate in between these levels, and that's on in there. Yeah, so just something to keep an eye on. Again, bigger picture in terms of what does it mean to start having oil at these prices. Yeah, maybe energy. And again, let's see how inflation is going to react to that. As you can see, kind of somewhere in August or something like that. Yeah, where we had inflation back then. Again, if you just continue to go higher, get to 90s, and worst case scenario, kind of start looking for 100s, 100 mark, that can be quite of a concern for the central banks for sure. So yeah, that's a little bit of what we have in here. Yeah, I think there's going to be some kind of good opportunities to look for as well on oil. And then to finalize and looking a little bit at crypto, like we have basically crypto maybe continue to move to the downside. We had a kind of a spike last week, and this one in here, a little bit of a spike in there, maybe just to resume to move to downside. I think, as I mentioned last week, something that paying attention to is how price is going to, what price is going to do around this level. Is it going to hold it and start moving higher from here, or is it going to actually break it and maybe start opening the door to go much further down? That's a little bit of what to look for. Even if you break this level and then maybe can go higher, I'm going to kind of be bullish in the bigger picture. At least maybe price get to the next level. If price starts somehow to hold this level and start moving higher from here, then maybe price can just continue to go higher from here, and maybe become a little bit more bullish. So it's important to see how price is going to react from here. Bitcoin exactly at around the same level. We have the same low in there to pay attention to, and to see how price is going to react around this 25 mark, if it's going to hold it or if it's going to break it in here. And then you can maybe start looking for new opportunities in that sense. If we break below this level, you can even go there and kind of move down. If this keeps holding and price kind of starts moving higher, then it's a different story. And then we can actually start aiming toward the highs and even break the highs altogether from here. It's an interesting decision point where we are right now. Ethereum starting to be slightly more negative in here, kind of recall slightly that level. Ethereum actually already broke this low that Bitcoin is still holding it. So it looks like maybe a little bit more bearish in here, comparing with Bitcoin. Which is interesting. Solana kind of the same. I'm looking at least for this level on Solana to look for as a target, which maybe price could then react a little bit more from this level. So there you go. Yeah, Solana can be kind of an interesting one as well. Just kind of trend continuation. The key level in here was when you broke this first these two levels in here, but then this level in here kind of start opening the door to go further down. So that happened. Initially we hold it, and then we broke it, and we actually hold it as a level of resistance. And yeah, maybe bigger picture on Solana, for example, first this level around 16 dollar mark, and then maybe continue to go a little bit more to the downside if price kind of breaks below that. So that's a little bit of what we have in here. Maybe this bearish momentum on crypto is going to continue. Again, Bitcoin, which this low is quite important, at least from my perspective and what I'm looking for in here. And that's it, guys. We are going to finally have some big news. Last week it was quiet. This week we're going to have inflation. Then we have ECB. We're going to have consumer sentiment on Friday as well, just in anticipation for the Fed meeting that we're going to have in 10 days from now. So let's see if you do have some increased volatility in here, some momentum being created in the market. Are you going to have a little bit of a correction on the dollar after 8 consecutive weeks printing bullish candles? So that's something to pay attention to. And also what the ECB is going to do. Is it going to do what the market's expecting and remain unchanged, or is going to surprise and hike in here? So that's just something to keep an eye on. Those are the main factors. Also in the UK, how the numbers of unemployment and GDP are going to look like in here. So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next week. Thank you and good luck with your trading.